In the early 2000s, the Baltic States stood at a crossroads. Freshly free from decades under Soviet rule, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania were transforming. Democracy was blooming. Borders were opening. The scars of occupation were still visible, but hope was in the air. But in the spring of 2002, that hope was tainted by a name scrawled in terror across Estonia and Latvia. Predator, a word left behind in blood, in bullet holes, in blast sites. Two men, Yuri Ustimenko and Dmitry Medvedev, left a trail of violence that would shake the Baltic region to its core. Their story is one of military training turned rogue, of ideology twisted into delusion, and of justice catching up to madness. This is the story of the Predator killers. Yuri Ustimenko and Dmitry Medvedev were born in Russia in the early 1980s, both raised during the chaotic fall of the Soviet Union. They served in the Russian Navy, specifically in a Special Forces division. They were well-trained, quiet, disciplined. By all accounts, ordinary young soldiers. But in 2001, something changed. They deserted. Not just left the army, but walked away from their identities. They disappeared across the border into Estonia. No one was looking for them. No one knew they had arrived. They settled into a quiet apartment in Tallinn. Outwardly, they were calm, reclusive. Inwardly, they were planning. Police would later discover blueprints of hunting stores, ATM schedules, and a chilling list titled Lessons from Chechnya. Ustimenko's former commanding officer, when later interviewed, said,
"They were smart, cold, but not insane, just detached, like something in them had already broken."
March 18, 2002. A hunting supply store in Tallinn is rocked by a small bomb. The explosion injures two bystanders, damages the storefront, and leaves a message written in black marker on a piece of wood, made by Predator. It wasn't the work of amateurs. The device had a ton detonator, no fingerprints, no DNA. And the message? Carefully printed in capital letters. Police are baffled. A statement? A prank? A warning? March 29th. A taxi driver is found shot in the head. His wallet is missing. 2 days later, a shopkeeper in Tartu is murdered. A second hunting store is broken into. Guns are missing. The word Predator appears again, spray-painted near the scene, this time in blood red. The media catches on. A killer is on the loose. Some begin calling them terrorists. Others whisper of a paramilitary group. Panic grows. The Predator killers weren't just criminals. They were executing a plan. Over the next 4 weeks, they moved between towns, sometimes on foot, sometimes by stolen car. Each target was chosen with care. Isolated workers, lone shopkeepers, vulnerable businesses with cash or weapons. Their killings were cold, quick, professional. They murdered Valentin Oleynikov and Silami, a man they knew personally. Days later, they killed Vasily Zudin, a drug dealer who'd threatened them. In both cases, they took cash, phones, and any weapons available. On April 11th, 22-year-old Rielika Radsalu was shot in the head during a robbery. She survived. Barely. In her description, 2 young men, one with a distinct tattoo on his left wrist, finally gave police something to work with.
"We ran the tattoo through Russian and Baltic military databases. It was a Naval Special Forces insignia. That's when everything clicked."
Estonia was gripped by fear. Front pages showed composite sketches. Talk shows debated motives. Was it ideology? Money? Revenge? The police created a joint task force with Latvian and Finnish authorities. Airports were notified. Borders were watched. But the killers stayed mobile, using knowledge of backroads and forested areas to evade detection. On May 3rd, they robbed another hunting store in Tallinn. The owner, Andris Koch, was shot execution style. CCTV footage showed them wearing paramilitary jackets, moving in and out in under 2 minutes. They left behind a spent casing with the letter P etched into the brass. The signature was undeniable. May 5, 2002. Near the border town of Valka, Latvian guards noticed a car with Russian plates behaving erratically. They approached. One man stepped out calmly, Medvedev, and opened fire. Corporal Agars Krupniks was shot in the chest. 2 others were injured. Medvedev was gunned down in the return fire. Ustimenko vanished into the woods. Over the next 5 days, the region was under lockdown. Police combed forests, checking cabins, interviewing hunters. Fear became tangible. People stayed indoors. Schools closed early. May 10, 2002. Suwałki, Poland. A disheveled man tried to check into a hostel using forged ID. The clerk was suspicious and called police. The arrest was quiet. He didn't resist. In his backpack were maps, survival gear, and a notebook. Its contents would haunt investigators for years. Pages of targets, military-style surveillance notes, and rambling philosophical justifications about cleansing society. The man's name? Ilya Habarov, according to the papers. But fingerprinting told a different story. Yuri Ustimenko. Ustimenko was extradited to Estonia. Forensic matches linked him to at least 6 murders. Ballistics confirmed his use of the same modified Makarov pistol. His defense was bizarre. He insisted he was part of a cleansing mission ordered by a secret Russian faction. He refused a lawyer. He read aloud from his diary in court, describing his victims as corrupt vessels. One entry read,
"The world is diseased. Money, addiction, weakness. We saw the rot. We answered."
Testimony from survivors like Rielika Ratsulu painted a more grounded picture. 2 unstable men using ideology as a mask for greed and murder. He was sentenced to life without parole. The Predator case reshaped policing in the Baltics. Joint databases were introduced. Border checks became more sophisticated. Training exercises now include active shooter simulations. But some scars remain.
I still wake up from dreams where I'm back in that shop, where the bell rings and he walks in again. I survived, but it never really ends.
Writers, filmmakers, and criminologists continue to revisit the case. Ustimenko became a symbol, not of terrorism or ideology, but of something worse, the banality of calculated evil. Yuri Ustimenko remains in a maximum security prison in Estonia. He does not speak to other inmates. He rarely responds to mail. A 2018 interview request by a journalist was granted. Ustimenko answered 2 questions.
Do you regret what you did?
I regret being caught.
Why did you call yourselves Predator?
Because predators don't apologize.
Silence followed. To this day, the word predator triggers a cold memory in Baltic towns. A word scrawled in pain. A wound that healed but left a scar. Even in peace, the forest sometimes remembers.